everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Online Warriors podcast. My name is Nerdbomber, and I'm joined by Techtic.
Hello, hello.
How you doing, Techtic?
I'm doing pretty good. You know, summer's been I will say, I'm going to shout out, this heat wave has been pretty incredible.
Yeah, the heat wave in the Northeast, for those of you not aware, it's been a pretty rough spring/early summer where...
But that's why it's been incredible. If it was like a slog of a summer, I'd be like, I'm so over it. But we were in the cloudiest, rainiest stretch for what felt like forever. It was like, I honestly thought my seasonal depression was not going to end.
So has this officially cracked your seasonal depression then, this string of 90-degree super sunny days?
No amount of 90-degree super sunny days are going to crack that. I need please, Mother Nature, if you're one of our listeners, just give me a full sunny summer. Every time I try to have a hosting of guest over, you rain us out. So just give us a sunny summer, please. Thank you.
We did have a nice little campfire. We had some friends over and it didn't rain. It was super, super sunny and warm to the point where normally I'm a mosquito magnet. I usually get chewed up, and even I could not put pants on. I had shorts on, but normally I like to cover up as much skin as possible, or I'm just basically a bug buffet, and I couldn't even do that.
You specified that you had shorts on because obviously the listeners would have been like, oh yeah, she's by the fire, crotch out.
You never know. Sometimes you just have to be very specific. You never know what people assume. You know what they say about assuming.
Gotta heat those bits up.
I guess so. We did have really good hot dogs by the fire. And guys, let me tell you though, we discovered something super elite. So we have a big box club. I think that's what they're called. I don't know. What is your BJ's, Sam's Club, Costco type store called? Whatever that is. We have a membership now. And I was super stealthy. We're walking through the store. Techtic is stocking up on, the essentials.
I wasn't even pushing a cart. That's what makes this impressive. I was holding a basket.
And I found it's Reese's Pieces bark. And I have to be super clear here. It's chocolate bark with the Reese's Pieces, the M&M's Reese's in it. Fantastic. On its own, amazing. But then I had this brilliant idea as I walked by them in the store. I'm like, this would be fantastic for s'mores. And guess what? They were so good.
They were bomb.com.
Yeah. So this is your summer shout out. If you need to elevate your s'more game, get some Reese's Pieces bark. We're not sponsored. I was so amazed by how it turned out.
Also, you didn't need to be sneaky. I would have been down to buy them.
It was an expensive bag. I'm not going to lie to you. The bag that we got is huge. So our friends, because we put it in the cooler, they had a little cooler with drinks and stuff because it was hot out. I slipped the bark in there because I wanted to keep it cool. So they ended up taking it home by accident. And they sent a picture and they're like, oh, we're going to hold this hostage. And I was just like, go for it, dude. We have a giant bag. It was a pretty expensive bag of chocolate, but I have no regrets.
She made it into smaller bags just to clear that up. They had taken the smaller little sandwich bags worth of it.
Oh, yeah. I'm very key on this. You never bring the entire bag of a snack out if you can help it.
It gets weird.
It does. It gets so weird. And especially at night when you start getting dew and stuff like that. We also have these bomb.com pretzels. They're flamin' hot pretzels.
They're actually .org, but yeah.
They're flamin' hot honey mustard something pretzels, and they're so good. And I know the flamin' hot, the red food dye, and it's bad for you. I don't care. They're delicious. I will sacrifice a year of my life for these.
It's not just that red heat. It's like a mustard spice with that red heat, and they just complement each other so well.
But I refuse to bring the entire bag out because I don't want the entire bag to potentially get mushy and gross. So I'm a big fan of little tiny bags of snacks everywhere I go. Little tiny bags.
Shout out to sandwich bags.
Yes.
Not a sponsor.
None of this is sponsored. We're just really riding the snack train lately. It's summertime. That's what you do. You ride the snack train. We don't have big dinners a lot. We have more snacky little dinners. But I won't keep going on and on about my favorite summer snacks. I promise. We have a really great episode for you guys this week. We have 3 different video games that we want to talk about, as well as 1 movie. And Techtic, I'm going to let you choose. Where do you want to start?
Donkey Kong.
All right, so if you guys were not aware, there was a big Donkey Kong Bananza Direct over the last week. And it was about almost a 20-minute video, really getting in depth. We've obviously seen, this game premiered when they announced the Switch 2, but this is the first time we really got an in-depth look at this game. So we got a look at, the different play styles, the platforming, the environmental destruction. We got to look at some of the story beats, how Donkey Kong is going to have this companion named Pauline, who likes to sing, and she has vocal abilities that can both amp up Donkey Kong himself or be used in co-op mode to help take down enemies. And we also got an introduction to different transformations that kind of results from Pauline's singing. So Donkey Kong can harness the energy of these gods, I guess, and turn into... Give me the lore.
Yeah, so you're going deeper and deeper to the Earth's core in order to basically get a wish to then... Pauline's wish would be to sing, and Donkey Kong's wish will be obviously more bananas, right? He's a psychopath. He's basically Cookie Monster, but for bananas. And so as they're going deeper and deeper, each layer as you're going down in the Earth's mantle has a various, god that is of a different shape. There's a gorilla god, there's an ostrich god, there's a zebra god. And as you conquer these areas, you then unlock a transformation ability that, using Pauline's singing power, can transform you. And obviously that has a cooldown, and you need to collect more, I think they're gold pieces, to then power up that transformation again. But ultimately it adds another level of dynamic gameplay to the standard Donkey Kong arsenal.
I am going to give a little bit of a hot take here. I've got two hot takes. So I have to say, overall, I did walk out of this direct, and I was very impressed. I know even when we first saw this game, platforming Donkey Kong 3D game, 3D platformers are my jam. You guys already know that. And Donkey Kong / Mario type 3D platformer is just elite. Nintendo's going to rock it. So I was never in doubt that the game was going to be good, but there are some questionable choices. I feel like Pauline, especially if you're not playing in co-op, I feel like it's that companion character that I just remember even in God of War, when you have a companion sometimes, and they also specified in the trailer, or the direct rather, that she was going to, be able to help and assist the player and show the path forward. And I feel like sometimes that takes away from your experience, because depending on how they balance it, she might be feeding answers to puzzles or giving you nudges in a direction to go somewhere when you're just trying to be destructive and you just want to hang out in an area a little bit. So, well, no, but I don't always love companion characters. I think sometimes they can be annoying, especially if they don't balance it well and she assists too much.
This is going to sound derivative, but the foundation of this game is Banjo-Kazooie, okay? You could he is Banjo and she is Kazooie, and that works. That is their character, and then they just took that foundation and built upon it and built upon it and built upon it to get where they're at today. Banjo-Kazooie, Jak and Daxter, those companion team ups are always fantastic.
That's true, but also another hot take. I don't know, something about Pauline just doesn't hit. I don't want my little companion in a Donkey Kong universe to be a human. I just don't.
Italian girl.
No, well, I want it to be a little fuzzy, fluffy character, and I'm really channeling my inner illegal here, bringing my bad hot takes.
I think I know why they did that though. It's kind of a wink to Donkey Kong, or not Donkey Kong, King Kong.
I mean, okay, but I don't care.
I think it makes for a fun dynamic, something that hasn't been done on previous ones. Yeah, they can throw another, Animal Kong, but that's this is a new twist on the Donkey Kong franchise. I mean, they completely redid his look. And by the way, I love the new look. I think it's fantastic. And even beyond the new look, since we're there, they've added complete character customization. You can change Donkey Kong's colors. Cool. You can change his wardrobe. You can change Pauline's wardrobe. When they were making this game, I want to go through all of the other features that were included, because we merely just touched the surface. But they added full character customization for both of them, down to the fur color, the suits, etc.
And what I liked about that too was that not only do they have those customizations, but all of those customizations give you a specific perk. Because I feel like sometimes what happens in these games, when it's just cosmetic, you end up not trying them all. You end up just sticking with the first or second one that you think looks really sick, and then you never go back and switch it up, even when you unlock new ones. So by linking them to different abilities that you're going to need to bolster throughout the game, I think that's a really smart idea, and actually makes people try the customization and put some weight behind collecting the customization. So I do love that. I will give you that.
So that's one thing that they got. Another thing that they have in this game is they have complete terrain destruction.
I do love that a lot.
You could not only destroy just for like exploring, but you can destroy to find additional unlockables. You can even craft. There's an element like they took a lot of elements from a lot of different games into this thing, and like it looks amazing. So, for example, Tears of the Kingdom vibes was what I was getting when they were crafting different things based on different blocks. People are gonna do weird shit in the best way possible.
What I am very curious about, they kind of threw out there that because there's so many different ways you can transform the environment and use the environment to, progress forward in the game, that, you kind of can chart your own path through the game. And I do wonder how much customization there will actually be. Because I feel like sometimes in these games, like, yes, you can destroy everything around you, but to move forward, there are certain things you have to do and you have to do them a certain way. And I wonder how much of that is going to be in place, or can you really just approach things any way you want? I'm very curious to see how that actually plays out. Because if it truly is like I can approach things completely differently from you, I feel like that also lends itself to great game discussions, because one of my favorite things when I'm talking about games is figuring out our individual strategies and why we approach things differently and what worked better, and would your method of approaching a boss fight or moving through a puzzle work better for me, or would mine work better for you? Like that stuff always just, I love talking about. So I'm curious to see if that's going to be as customizable.
Specifically where that's going to shine is when you mentioned puzzles, where there's a big part of the puzzles is there's these runes. Again, this is where I get a lot of the inspiration from Tears of the Kingdom, because they had those runes as well, where you go into them and you solve a puzzle based on, your current upgrades, whatever. And that is where I think we're going to see a lot of different people solving things a lot of different ways. And I'm just so here for that. They've added an exploration mode. Basically, they have puzzling. They have action-packed fighting, platforming. Like this game, I don't mean to gush about it, but it truly has it all. And
there's definitely also going to be, I feel like, some musical mini games. You can't have a companion character whose whole shtick is music, and you have Donkey Kong whose whole shtick in entire games is literally playing the bongos, and not have a musical mini game in there.
Well, that's another thing that this game has. One of the collectibles is you can collect CDs or albums, and that you can add for like the soundtrack that you're listening to while you're playing. You can have the classical Donkey Kong. It's just,
I loved that.
It's hitting you with new stuff, but it's also very nostalgic with the platforming. It's just so good. And I don't see how anyone can be a negative Nelly on this game.
Like I said, I am not in any way, shape, or form saying that this game is not going to be great. I do think making the choice to turn him into completely different animals is a little weird to me. But I'll get over that. I think because it's introducing new play styles and game mechanics every time he transforms into a different type of animal, I'll get over it really quickly. I do also appreciate some of the other things that they've added to this game that really aren't part of the main campaign. So one of them is, they've touted for the Switch 2 these new Joy-Con 2 mouse controls, and they show this entire separate creative game mode where you basically get to sculpt in rock. And I don't know how well that will work, but I just know having sculpted in something like the Meta Quest, for example, it can be really satisfying and fun. And so the fact that they're giving people, the use of mouse control to sculpt in this game, obviously that when you think of Donkey Kong, you're not really thinking creative sculpting freeform stuff, but the creations that they showed in the direct that people were making, I'm assuming the developers were making in this creative mode, looked really cool. And I'm kind of wondering if you can export the DK artist creations that you make, because I'm imagining, I just know in some of the MetaQuest software that I used, you were able to export your sculpt creations and 3D print them, turn them into something that you could 3D print.
No way.
And yeah, for sure. And so
no, I know you could do that in MetaQuest, but there's no way they're going to have that.
But imagine though that there's some kind of DK artist hub where you could share your creations and then 3D print stuff. That would be so cool. And I feel probably for so many different IP and proprietary reasons, they're not going to encourage that, because I think you start out with an easy Donkey Kong sculpt, so they're probably not going to want to encourage people to 3D print their own Donkey Kong. But I just think that that's super cool. And even, I know they've also touted with the Switch 2, the game sharing abilities, but one of the things that I was not anticipating, so obviously they said that if you own this game and you have someone else playing with you who doesn't own Donkey Kong Bonanza, you can obviously share with them so they can play in co-op mode. But I did not realize that it would be, backward compatible. They said if someone has the original Switch, you can also share it with somebody playing on the original Switch and they can play with you that way as well. And to me, that's very mind-blowing because this is supposed to be like a Switch 2, big software title. So the fact that they're offering an ability for co-op play that works with the original Switch, I think that's great, because if you think about like the family dynamic or even our household dynamic, when we finally do get the Switch 2, we're not going to get two of them. So now this allows us to still use that original Nintendo Switch that we have and play together, which is super cool. Love that.
And I think that what allows them to do that is the fact that the abilities that require the Switch 2 specifically are not going to be used by Pauline.
Right.
And so they've kind of carefully considered all of the things that they're doing to maximize playability. And I think that's great. And to even go further with maximizing playability and how accessible they've kind of considered this game to be is not only if you get like stuck in a level, did they offer these elevators that can take you back to a different point in the level, but also those elevators can take you to previous spots very easily and quickly. So you basically got to fast travel. And they've allowed for just like easy mode. Nerdbomber, you're a big pusher of easy mode.
Assist mode. I jumped for joy. I probably don't need it for this type of game, but love that it exists.
And but that's important, right? That's huge when it comes to like making everyone have an enjoyable experience. So like overall on this game, no notes, Nintendo, you guys be doing it.
Yeah, I think this is easily going to be one of those, GOTY type games. And this is going to be, I think, a driver of Switch 2 sales. Like if you weren't somebody who hopped on the Switch 2 immediately, like we still don't have one yet. I know Legal does though. But if you haven't jumped on it already, this is probably one of those games that gives you a little bit of, Switch 2 envy and might make you make the leap. This just feels like a console seller, honestly, in my opinion. And I'm very hopeful and can't wait to see what the, final reviews and stuff for this game is, because we're not going to be able to play it for a little bit yet.
So overall, Donkey Kong Bonanza is due out for Switch 2 on July 17th. We won't be playing it yet because we won't have a Switch 2 anytime soon, but get hyped for it, guys.
And also, I know there are some of you out there who are big Nintendo fanboys, Switch 2 owners already. If you are planning on playing this game, I know Steven out there is also a big DK guy. I know you guys are going to have opinions, so let us know what you think of it when you guys play it, because I'm very excited to hear more. And we're going to pivot now into one of my other favorite gaming franchises, a big classic here, the old Nintendo versus Sega debate. Kind of settled at this point, but we still get Sonic racing games, and I'm very excited about this new one, Sonic Racing CrossWorlds. We've talked about this game in the past. We've seen trailers for it. You guys know already, I am a big Sonic racing fan. I loved Sonic Racing All-Stars Transformed. I loved Sonic Racing. I don't even remember what the last one was. It wasn't as good as Transformed, but it was still very, very good. And so now we got new information about this next installment, Sonic Racing CrossWorlds, and there was the reveal that they will be having a Nickelodeon collaboration in their game. So there's going to be SpongeBob SquarePants characters and race tracks. There's going to be eventually Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle characters and Avatar: The Last Airbender characters. And to me, this feels pretty huge, because there was, if you go back in time, probably to the Xbox 360 era, maybe even Xbox One and PS4 era, I'm pretty sure there was Nicktoons Racing. And so this kind of says, hey, we recognize Sonic Racing is superior, so we're not going to bother with Nicktoons Racing. We're just going to put it in the Sonic Racing game. And I absolutely love that. There's also, earlier this month, we also had gotten confirmation that other Sega characters will be making appearances in this game, like some of the Yakuza characters and Persona characters, and even some of the Minecraft characters. And so this just feels like this is kind of elevating the Sonic Racing name. Obviously, nothing is going to beat Mario Kart. I get it. But the fact that Sonic Racing is getting all of these different properties to kind of collaborate and show up in this game shows that this is a big deal. They're taking CrossWorlds seriously, and I'm very excited for what this means for, the future of this franchise. I'm really hoping the game is good.
So in the first Sonic Racing game, I thought the worlds looked very polished. The gameplay was tight. However, when you were watching some of the Bikini Bottom stuff,
it looked rough.
It looked janky, right?
Yes.
Okay, that's my fear with throwing in all these extra characters and from various animation styles, we'll call it, is that 2D doesn't always translate well to 3D, and it can tend to look chintzy or cheap. And I really hope that this is just kind of like a rough footage and it will look more polished. But I really just don't want this game to look like for lack of a better term, like Flash player game.
So in my opinion, I think
maybe PlayStation's probably better. A PlayStation 2 game.
The original, the core Sonic race courses and characters, I feel like are going to look super polished, because what we saw of CrossWorlds up until this point looked fantastic, and I was super stoked for it. It looked like a graphical and playstyle improvement over the last entry in the Sonic Racing series. And what this almost kind of felt to me when I was watching it was that they literally took Nicktoons Racing and they're like, okay, let's just recycle these assets and plop them in there. And I think because, at least for me, don't get me wrong, I love SpongeBob, but that's not what I'm here for. So I'm probably not going to be playing in the SpongeBob levels all that often. So maybe the jankiness will be kind of self-contained. I feel like it could get really cool with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and Avatar, because I guess there was Turtles Racing too. So maybe I'm a little concerned about if that's going to look janky. But from what I am remembering, I don't think there's an Avatar racing game at all. So maybe those won't look bad.
They need to do basically what's done with Super Smash Brothers, where they take careful time into incorporating them into this 3D fighting world. You can't just make it 3D and hope it works. There's an art to it, and it just has to be done right. I think the Avatar also has the same risk. I really do. I think the only one that might play well and be seamless, and that's merely because they have just a vast pool of reference material on 3D Ninja Turtles, is the Ninja Turtles. I'm nervous about the Avatar, and SpongeBob looks cruddy. But I will say, that does not change my hype of this game. I just want to have a little bit of a negative Nelly take.
I think, honestly, though, for me, as long as this stuff is not taking away from the core Sonic Racing CrossWorlds experience, and they're not diverting, resources away from better tracks for the core game, this just means that we get more in Sonic Racing CrossWorlds, in my opinion. It's kind of like DLC type stuff, you know what I mean? So as long as it's extra and not taking away from what I would have gotten had this partnership not come about, then I'm okay with it.
Okay, but I just want to, again, not to beat the dead horse, I'm going to reference you into Call of Duty when the Turtles were in that.
I don't remember what I said. I remember thinking it looked weird only because...
No, it looked good. They literally imported the Ninja Turtles as if they were fitting in this world.
No, that part was good. What I did not like, I'm trying to remember what my feedback was. I do remember thinking it was really unsettling to have 18,000 Leonardos running around.
All with guns.
Yeah, that was a little much. I know you can't, if people have bought a skin, you can't limit them from using it and all, but within a game, it was just super weird to have 1,000 Leonardos and Raphaels. It was like, okay, well, I guess we're all playing them now.
But the style fit.
It did fit really well. I was impressed. Even the way that they, designed the hands to work with the guns, especially since, the Turtles never use guns. That was pretty impressive. They don't, they have their little ninja weapons. That's all they use. Unless there's probably some side comic offshoot where it's super dark and gritty and they use, machine guns or something like that. But in what I have seen of the IP, they don't use guns. So the fact that Call of Duty was able to make it look pretty seamless was impressive. I will give them that.
So overall, I think this is positioning Sonic Racing to be a strong contender to the Mario Kart games. And I'm still Team Sonic. I really am. I think the gameplay is tighter. I think my biggest problem, and if those of you who are big Mario Kart stans want to at me, go ahead. But here's the thing. If you're new to Mario Kart, it is a steep learning curve on like what vehicles to pick, how to like race well. In my opinion, Sonic Racing is designed for anyone to pick up the controller and have the potential to place first. Period.
There definitely are. So I'm somebody who really got immersed in the Sonic Racing world. Like, I spent so much time grinding on those games, even after you had stopped playing, because I was trying to like hundo P it at one point. Like, it was a problem. I was really sinking way too much time into these. But there are, different builds for your vehicles. There are, decisions you have to make. What type of vehicle?
But it just seems more intuitive. Even like something as simple as drifting that both have a drift boost, it just seems more intuitive and feels nicer.
Yeah, I will say somehow the feel of the racing in Sonic Racing is just, it's tighter. And I think part of that is because Mario Kart is king. And so they don't have to really change up the, the gravity and the feel of the racing because everybody plays it. And I feel like Sonic, when they tried to dip their toes into this field, they knew like we're coming in from the standpoint of like, we're the underdog, we're the competitor, we have to make this feel tight. And they did. And I feel like it's kind of flown under the radar. A lot of kart racers, like I know Illegal's wife is a big Mario Karter, and I've been trying to convince them for years to try Sonic Racing because I really do feel like it is, from a technical standpoint, the superior racing game. It really is. The mechanics are just tighter. And I feel like if Sonic Racing can just get more eyes on it, and maybe SpongeBob and the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and Avatar will help with that, people will see the light.
So with this Nickelodeon collaboration, is there someone that hasn't been mentioned that you would love to see added?
You mean a property that Nickelodeon has that isn't any of these? I mean, first of all, in Avatar, I want to be Appa. I don't know how that would work. I don't want Appa to be the car. I want to be Appa in a car. Yip.
I can tell you Appa's going to be a car.
I don't want him to be a car. That doesn't make any sense. He has no wheels. But I think if I'm really digging in deep into the Nickelodeon, depths here, I don't really care about the wild thornberries all that much. Hey Arnold would be fun, maybe. But honestly, the Angry Beavers. Give me the Angry Beavers. Give me a beaver mobile. Put them in a log. I don't know. I feel like that'd be fun. I really liked the Angry Beavers. But if you get into too many of these Nicktoons, I feel like then it starts to feel a little bit kitschy. Then you're just Nicktoons racing.
Yeah, no, I can tend to agree with that. There is like, my choice would be Danny Phantom.
Oh, that would be fun. I feel like you could do something with like phasing.
Yeah, there are really cool ones, but like I tend to agree with you that you don't want it to be just lambasted with Nickelodeon. They want to, kind of spread it around, or else it's not CrossWorlds, it's just Sonic and Nickelodeon Racing.
So Sonic Racing CrossWorlds is coming up soon. It'll be coming out September 25th, 2025. So we're not too far away from that, just about 3 months at this point. And man, I'm excited. I'm so excited.
Hype.
So we're going to take a little bit of a break, and then we're going to come back and cover the last 2 news topics. But before we do, I would be absolutely remiss if I did not call out our fantastic Patreon producers, Stephen Keller and Lloyd Weldy. Take a bow, guys. You're fantastic. They subscribe to us at the night level over on patreon.com/onlinewarriorspodcast. And as a result, they get this weekly shout out, occasional guest spots on the show, as well as voting on our secret segment topics, access to the secret segment every month, and our video vlog every month. Lots of benefits, lots of extra content, lots of fun stuff. But if you're not cool as Stephen and Lloyd, and we get it, not many people are, they're pretty awesome. But if you want to still support the show, you can go over to the Patreon, and we have 2 other tiers of support, the Page and the Squire. They both have their own set of perks. At the very minimum, you do get access to our monthly secret segment, so you get a fun little extra bonus every month. It helps us keep the lights on here over at Online Warriors Podcast, and it is very much appreciated. So thanks again to Stephen and Lloyd, and now we'll take our short little break.
I'm Ryan Fonzie.
This is Cameron Hagee.
My name is Tony Giggles.
And we're 3 dudes who love The Legend of Zelda and love talking about The Legend of Zelda.
And if you are a Zelda fan as much as we are, then come on down and listen to your heart's content.
we have a podcast that we like to share with you. It's called A for No, B for Yes. We cover the Legend of Zelda series, different games chapter by chapter, and we have all kinds of theories about what we see and what we've experienced in the game.
Do you go through Wikipedia and look up stuff based on the things you see in the game to create theories to how it could link to other things in the world that we actually live in, and not the Zelda one that was the one that was created by the people that are in the world that we actually live in right now? Because if you don't, then you should watch this, because we do.
Did you guys get all that? If not, oh, you didn't. Okay. So we are A for no, B for... Alright, I'll stop.
All right, and we're back with another video game. So there was new concept art dropped for a dropped game. If you guys are not aware, there was supposed to be another entry in the Batman Arkham Knight series, and this one was called Project Sabbath. It was apparently kind of being worked on behind the scenes at Warner Brothers Games Montreal, and this one was supposed to be kind of like a father-son type game that was more focused on Damian Wayne, whereas all of the other Arkham games up to that point were focused on Bruce Wayne. So it was going to be an older Bruce, a younger Damian, and we got concept art for all of this and what could have been. And unfortunately, this game was canceled after the bad reception with Suicide Squad killed the Justice League and Gotham Knights. Both of those kind of, flopped a little bit critically and in sales, so they canned this game. But there was, also supposed to be like Killer Croc and the Huntress. And man, I'm a little sad.
I'm not.
No? Really?
I'm not. So one thing that the studio is really good at doing is making a fantastic Arkham game when they stick to the source material. What absolutely infuriates me is when they riff, when they don't stick to the source material. I was so disappointed at the reveal in Arkham Knight when they were like, oh, it's not the Red Hood. Oh, it's not the Red Hood. It's a totally new character. And it was basically the Red Hood. That was just super disappointing.
Was that, though, were you more disappointed because it was a marketing ploy?
Well,
was the marketing the thing that disappointed you?
I got marketed that game. Red Hood is my favorite Robin, period. And they're like, oh, if you buy it day one, you'll get Red Hood DLC. And I was like, oh, sick. Not only is this a unique story, but I get Red Hood DLC. Why would they add this in there? It's totally different, blah, blah, blah. And then it's not. So it was like the marketing ploy, it felt like I was being lied to you, and then it just wasn't this original thing. I like the Red Hood story, but it became like icky because of this. Which, by the way, if you are a Red Hood fan and you want to like see a good story, Batman Under the Red Hood, fantastic movie. Watch that.
The number of times that you have recommended
I love it. It's so good.
Like, I probably, if I had a nickel for every time you recommended that to
so
somebody
good.
or on air, I probably would have like a few dollars, which isn't like a lot, but still.
It's like the number one DC movie, in my opinion. But anyway, I digress. That upset me. And then now this storyline, like, Damian Wayne's never really been Batman. That mantle has always been taken by Dick Grayson or Nightwing. And he then fills in as Dick Grayson's Robin. They have like a different contentious relationship. It's kind of like a "you're not my dad" situation because Damian's a little bit of a jerk and a little kind of entitled brat. But like it's still it's that still relationship of them like coming to be partners and trusting each other. That's really good. Getting this is again a deviation, and that worries me. Nightwing as Batman is fantastic. Just do that. That's a story everyone loves. Just do that. Stick to the source material. And so, in summation of my little old man yells at clouds, they could have made a fantastic game if they just stuck to that source material. And so that's why I'm glad that this didn't see the light of day.
I mean, I don't know. I think I would have still welcomed this. I feel like I want to call you out, but I don't have enough knowledge. And I astonishingly have read a lot of the Batman comics, and I can't come up with an instance where Damian Wayne was
but
Batman.
Dick Grayson is your favorite Batman.
I hear you, and I don't disagree. But
I'm not saying this would have been bad. I'm saying it would be so much better if they embraced Dick Grayson as Batman instead.
I feel like, and I might be making this up, it might have just been a fever dream or a hallucination, but I feel like at one point they talked about making like a Nightwing specific game. And maybe I'm just like meshing that in my head with Gotham Knights. And that's what I'm, thinking of. But I thought I could have sworn there was a Nightwing specific game, which would have made sense for them to not then pursue that and make Damian Wayne a Batman in conjunction. But clearly I might just be talking out of my butt because I don't think there's any proof or evidence that that was ever a plan or that existed. But yeah, I mean, this game was never made. It got canceled. Apparently, though, they are working on a new Arkham game, supposedly. We don't really have that much information about it. I would just love a return to form. I do understand why they tried to do, Gotham Knights and Suicide Squad killed the Justice League. But, like, at a certain point, they should have just stuck with what worked. I don't know. I hate to like quell innovation, but also the Arkham games were so good. And I think they were one of the first games that got me back into gaming after I had taken a little bit of a hiatus. And usually I give Mass Effect that honor, but I think Arkham Asylum might have been the first game that I played on my Xbox 360 when I got it and kind of like showed me how cool the next gen was. Because up until that point, I was still playing on like my Wii and 3DS. So I have a soft spot for the Arkham series, and what it ended up devolving into makes me really sad. So I wish they had just kind of kept going. And
I mean, they were the foundation for the Spider-Man games, basically. And like, I agree with you. If they make fantastic games when they stick to not doing the frills, stick to the gritty story, stick to the source material, it's fantastic.
So yeah, I guess RIP this game. The concept art is super cool though. Like, I don't know. I thought the concept art was awesome. It's out there. You can find it on, I think like ArtStation or something like that. But yeah, it's circulated on social media. I would give it a look. If you're a fan of Batman, if you're a fan of the Arkham games, it's just interesting and neat to look at.
Let me ask you one more question.
Sure.
If you have Old Man Batman, okay, wouldn't you be more interested in a Batman Beyond?
I never got into Batman Beyond, so for that reason, probably not. I don't know.
It's like picture
I know what it
Batman
is.
Cyberpunk.
Yeah, I know what it is. I never got into that.
Oh, I love Terry McGinnis.
I don't know. It always felt a little too like, I'm
Future-y.
a punk. I'm in the future. Like, yeah, I don't know. Something about it never appealed to me. I'm sure maybe now that I'm older, I always put Batman Beyond, like it was on like the WB Saturday morning cartoon lineup. And so it always just felt like it was a kid dumbed down version of Batman. And I know that's not the case. But just because it was part of that morning lineup, it felt that way. And so I didn't really connect with it.
You're too mature. Got it. Heard it here first, folks.
I thought I was. And then I go back and I watch all this stuff and I'm like, damn, it's really good. What was
gritty.
I thinking? Yeah, like, I don't know. I was like 9. Cut me a break, man.
Fair enough.
All right, so now we're going to move on to the last topic of the day. And we got a trailer for the new Bruce Springsteen movie featuring Jeremy Allen White. And if you're not familiar with who that is, he is the main star of The Bear. He was also in Shameless for a very, very long time. And this is basically a Bruce Springsteen biopic. Techtic, what did you think of this? Are you a big Bruce Springsteen fan?
I do like Bruce Springsteen, aka the boss. However, I am just absolutely mainly fascinated by Jeremy Allen White. I did not, if you were to ask me, does he look anything like Bruce Springsteen? I would say absolutely a million times no.
But it's the vibe.
But right, that's the thing that like in some shots he looks nothing like him, but in other shots like I'm like, oh, that looks like a young Bruce. And it's like, it's very jarring to me and I don't quite understand the movie magic, how they're doing it. But like somehow it works and I have confidence that he can do a really good job.
What always gets me about Jeremy Allen White, so because we basically watched him grow up on Shameless, and for the longest time, I was like, there is no way I will ever be able to see him as anyone other than Lip. But every time we see him in something new, for maybe like the first half an hour, I'm like, get out of here, Lip. Go back to the streets.
His personality in The Bear is kind of similar to Lip's.
Right, but like he still somehow embodies a character fully. And like makes you believe that he is that character. Like, I don't know what it is, or maybe it's just the vibe that he has and all of the characters he plays kind of has the same vibe. I'm not really sure.
It's the second one. All of the even Bruce Springsteen, he has that troubled darkness inside of him. It's the same in Lip. That's the same in The Bear. He plays that role well, and that's why I think he's going to do this well. Is again that troubled darkness that has a light that you want to see shine through.
Now, Techtic, I also did not realize that you were in this movie.
Hilarious. That is that is the worst. She's referring to Jeremy Strong's character, and holy hairline. That is.
I mean, in this, yes, you don't look as much like him, but throughout the entire time we watch Succession, like, you do have a resemblance to Jeremy Strong. We've done face swap. It is startlingly close how much you look like Jeremy Strong. But yeah, so Jeremy Strong is in this movie. Paul Walter Hauser is in this movie. Gabby Hoffman and Stephen Graham are also here. Odessa Young, Mark Maron, David Krumholtz. So there's also a really good cast here, and it looks like it won't just be focused on Bruce Springsteen himself. It looks like it's going to be focused on, the team around him. I mean, Paul Walter Hauser as the audio engineer, I'm super curious to see how that plays out. I feel like he surprises me in everything that he's in. I feel like he just plays such a vast variety of roles. I think the first thing we saw him in was maybe Cobra Kai, and he plays such just like a I don't want to say like a dumb character, but like he's definitely a character where he is playing the fool. He's a goof.
He plays the redemption character really, really well, where you throw it by him, you go, he's not worth his salt, and then he just shines. That's in everything. And even in the dark ones where he shines like, holy crap, he's an evil son of a bitch kind of movies. He just totally surprises you no matter where he starts. You throw him away originally, and then he comes back at you. He's probably one of my top 10 actors, honestly, as weird as that sounds.
So, we don't get a whole lot out of this trailer. We know it's going to be a biopic. It starts with, Bruce Springsteen making his own record in a room with just his audio engineer, kind of doing it solo, trying to make it sound raw and authentic. But then they obviously build up to him, being on a massive stage and performing. So I think, if you know the Bruce Springsteen story, you kind of know what you're going to get here. Techtic, is this enough? Is this cast? Is this everything compelling enough to have you go see this movie? Are you a big
I'm
enough
just
Springsteen
a big
fan?
sucker for period pieces, and I believe this will be taking place in Jersey. And so seeing Jersey in the early years would be kind of neat.
Yeah, you a big Jersey guy?
Yeah.
So this will be coming out October 24th, 2025. So this is well past drive-in movie theater time, at least here in the Northeast. The heat wave will probably be over by then. We'll be all cold and frigid. But yeah, I think this is probably one that I would eventually end up seeing. Maybe not in theaters. I'm not really sure. But I will definitely watch it at some point because, like you said too, these biopics I always find super fascinating. So that kind of wraps up our news segment. And now we're going to get into what are you up to Wednesday? Oh, we didn't sing it. Should we do it over?
No.
Okay. Techtic, I'll let you go first. What have you been up to Wednesday?
We started watching a new show called Adults, and I'm going to quote Nerdbomber on this one, but it's basically a modern day New Girl. And I know New Girl is really not modern, but like...
New Girl is older than you think, and it makes me feel sad and sick inside every time I think about it.
It's very Gen Z New Girl is how I would describe it, whereas New Girl feels more millennial coded to me, at least. And so it's a take on the next generation of that show. And it's very good. I think this is going to have the same kind of rewatchability, staying power that show has. And it manages to have the same vibe while feeling completely new and having us laugh in just about every episode. And it's relatable. I'm a millennial. I find it absolutely relatable, especially there was a scene about like clogging a toilet today. I don't want to give spoilers, but like a couple found love over poo problems, and like it hit me right in the feels.
Close to your heart.
Right there.
Yeah, something about this show, especially if you're just looking for that like 30-minute comedy. I feel like there's not a lot that's filling this niche right now, and it's super, super good. I'm very excited that we stumbled upon it. I think it was like a panic choice. We were trying to find something to watch one night, and I was given kind of like a ticking clock, and it was like, you don't have something lined up in the hopper? And we just wanted something quick and short, and I just panicked and chose it. And I'm very happily surprised by this show. And I feel like with streaming now, you never know if something's going to get a season 2, and I really hope this does. Because I feel like it does touch on a lot of different issues in everyday life that's super relatable, like you said, no matter how old you are. And like, yes, it is like a group of young adults living together, and that's not usually what ends up happening as you get older. But I feel like there's so many different like slice of life elements to this show that are just super relatable no matter what stage of life you're in, that you can find funny. And I really hope it gets more than one season.
Samesies. And then the other thing is I just kind of swam and stayed cool because it's been hot.
Hot. All right. And then on my end, I read the latest Emily Henry book, Great Big Beautiful Life, and I'm usually a really big Emily Henry fan. Something about this book, like, it was fine, but normally Emily Henry writes like 5-star bangers for me every time, and they usually hit me in the feels. They're feel-good books. They usually have an element of like happily ever after. And I'm not saying that, I don't want to give spoilers. I don't want to give too much away from this book, but the premise of Great Big Beautiful Life is you basically have 2 different reporters who have managed to find this media mogul heiress who basically decided to distance herself from her family and her fortune and go hide out in Georgia. And they're both competing to try to write her biography. And there's just, I don't know, I feel like it's trying to do too much because not only are you getting the story of this woman's biography, but now you're also trying to build relationships in like modern time as well.
Are you getting the story from 2 different perspectives?
You're not. You're only getting from like the main character. So like you're following the female reporter who's trying to, win over this book deal. And there's a competing reporter. You don't see his side and perspective of things. And there's just, I feel like the books are 2 separate entities almost, and you're splitting time between both of them, and you're not really getting the story from the modern day or the past super well, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
It's just trying to do a little bit too much, and the book maybe either needed to be longer to cover both things and do them justice, or just pick one and do it. Because like there's a whole romance element in the modern day side of the story that just feels like it's just thrown together and happens super fast, and you're just like, you guys just met each other like last week, what? And normally Emily Henry books are a little bit more about like relationships developing over time, and there was just that element of insta-love that I didn't like. And I don't know, I feel like there were elements of a really, really good book. I still enjoyed myself. I enjoyed reading it, but I would give this one a 3.5 out of 5 stars, and that's really rare for me with Emily Henry books. Like normally they're 5. So yeah, that is my opinion on this. I was a little disappointed. I'm not going to lie to you. It felt a little bit like she wanted to pull off an Evelyn Hugo type book.
Are you still going to try to finish it? Or are you
I already finished it.
Got me nervous.
Oh no, this book is done and dusted. I finished it. And that's what made me disappointed, because it just felt like she tried. Emily Henry saw the success and the zeitgeist around the Evelyn Hugo book and book deal. And I think it's going to be a movie now, not a series. And I think she tried to kind of like replicate it, and it just didn't hit. And now I'm kind of rambling about this book, but I'm a little disappointed, and it made me sad. So that's kind of what I was up to. I flew through it though. Like from that perspective, it was engaging enough for me to fly through it in a week. So there's that. Techtic, any parting words for the fans before we head out for the week?
I never have parting words other than stay safe and keep on podcasting.